Hi there, with this video we continue Act 2, Scene 2, the middle of this scene. We're going to focus on how Chance interacts with his former classmates and then the return of Princess since Act 1. First of all, in the beginning when he starts talking to his former classmates and their wives, you can tell he's getting humiliated. They're not singing along when he tries to make them sing to this old song of theirs, and they're poking jokes at him. For example, has Chance Wayne got a fan club? And the other guy replies, the most patient one in the world. So clearly they're having a good time poking fun at this guy who used to be the star of their snob set, remember, and then went off to do great things, and then he didn't accomplish anything. So in an attempt to regain some of his popularity, Chance brings up the fact, oh yeah, well, I have a contract with a Hollywood studio. And they don't believe him. That's why they ask him, well, what's the name of this film you're going to produce? Chance doesn't even have a name for it. So that's why you see him hesitate. Name of it? Youth. He just comes up with it. But obviously the fact that he chooses that title encapsulates what he's been trying to achieve all along, to recapture his glory days when he was young and free and untainted. He even has a contract in his pocket, so the stage direction that he removes it, he wants to have evidence. I'm not just BSing, this is true in fact. The former classmates still don't really believe him because they question, why do you carry the contract with you? What necessity would you have aside from showing off? So the charm he used to be able to employ with his classmates doesn't seem to work anymore. And you can tell that Scotty wants to leave. He rises from the table and he makes a little snippy remark. It's getting too deep at this table. The level of deception is too much for me. I want to leave. But Chance keeps them there by, playing fire with fire. If they're going to be mean and cruel to him, he's going to do the same thing in return. And if they didn't totally buy the whole contract scenario, then he's going to hit them in the physical arena. Because we know from Williams' description in the very beginning that Chance, even though his age looks a little older than his 29 years, he does still physically, his body is still in really good shape. These guys, not as much. So he attacks them. He attacks Bud first. He tells him, the cut of your suit doesn't really suit you because they made large shoulder pads, and what that did is make you look even shorter than you actually are. Bud's remark, despite not having stage directions, is clearly sarcastic. Thanks, Chance. So he expects this kind of thing from Chance, so it doesn't affect him too much. But then when Scotty jumps in and also sarcastically says, well, you got any helpful hints for me? Chance gets even more cruel because now Chance is fat shaming him basically and saying, I can't give you any advice. There's no tailor on earth that can disguise the fact that you have a sedentary occupation. Sedentary means you sit the whole time. So Scotty works at the bank and he's making fun of the fact that you sit on your can, as he says later, all the time. So you've clearly put on a lot of weight. Miss Lucy tries to interrupt him as a warning. Hey, don't go there. That's far below the belt. You don't want to insult a man like that. But for Chance, it's his only ability to be able to get back at these men who've been mocking him and poking fun at him. And he connotes putting on weight with being corrupt. Because he said, you sit on your can and you get money from it. You count all these century bills, meaning $100 bills, and once a week you steal some. So to him, appearance connotes corruption, even though we know that's not the case in this play often. The characters portray an innocent image when the reality is far from that. Scotty fires back. Unlike Bud, who just made a little sarcastic comment, Scotty fires back, and he fires back with real ammo. He says, I don't get by on my looks, but I drive my own car. It isn't a caddy, but it's my own car. And if my own mother died, I'd bury her myself. I wouldn't let a church take up a collection to do it. This clearly has to impact Chance. And for once, Tennessee Lins doesn't give us a lot of stage directions, so the actor playing Chance would have a lot of room to figure out a reaction, but it's gotta be guttural. I mean, I imagine him staggering like he just got punched in the gut when Scotty tells him this. And Scotty has a point. The Cadillac he's driving is Princess's. It's not Chance's. He wasn't there when his mother died. But obviously to use someone's weak points against them to that extent seems more than cruel. But like I said, Tennessee Williams doesn't tell us how he reacts. And it could be that Chance just tries to hide any actual pain from that insult. Because you notice once Scotty and Bud leave, Chance just says, "Oh, the squares have left us, Miss Lucy." So using this old slang term from the 40s and 50s, someone who's square is lame, they're not cool anymore, they're not into any of the new trends. This is how he sees these men. Remember in his monologue in Act 1, Scene 2, he tried to say how he wanted to be different from others. He was going to lead a life of excitement and true success, unlike his contemporaries like Bud and Scotty. But it must be a mask for feeling like he's fallen off this pedestal that he used to be on when he was the star of the snob set back in high school. Stage directions come into play more now as more and more men are sitting around the bar, and there's a lot of dark undertones in the darker corners of the bar. They're waiting for something. Obviously, this is the meeting for the Youth for Tom Finley rally that Tom Boss Finley is about to host, and he's about to enter. So even though they don't look threatening, the audience still gets a sense of foreboding. Something dark is about to happen to Chance, and Chance can't quite grasp it or doesn't really want to deal with it, because instead he just changes the conversation to a steak restaurant. Is it still the best place in town? It's obviously just a distractor, but it also points at the fact that he's been gone from St. Cloud for a while, and he wants to establish some bearings. Are my old spots still here? Are they still good like I remember? But Williams wants us to know that something really terrible might just happen, because Stuff answers the phone, looks up at Chance really briefly, and in between says, "Yeah, it's him." So chances are he's talking to Boss or probably Tom Jr., letting them know Chance is here. And we already know that they want to commit some kind of violent act, possibly even murder, against Chance. So the ominous mood is definitely infiltrating the scene quite palpably, and Miss Lucy feels it. She says, "I'll drive you out to the airport." Up to this point, Miss Lucy has come across as really self-centered and egotistical. She's upset at what Boss did to her with the diamond clip and closing the box on her fingers. She has reason to, but she's not trying to no longer be his mistress. She just wants the status of being a formal partner. And she set up the heckler to interrupt the rally and say some horrible things about Heavenly. She's not thinking too much of the consequences. But here we see her act out selflessly. She says, "I'll drive you out to the airport. There's a helicopter there that in 15 minutes can take you to New Orleans and out of harm's way." So it's not like she's completely a selfish character. Kind of like Aunt Nani, she has a soft spot for Chance and doesn't want to see him come to harm. But Chance won't hear of it, just like with Aunt Nani. "What did I say to make you think I would leave? I'm staying put." And with that seals his fate. The other part of the middle of this scene that's really interesting is the re-entrance of Princess. We haven't seen her since the morning in the hotel room when she promised Chance that she would help him with this plan, and she even said, probably half seriously, half joking, "Oh, I love you, come kiss me, I'll wait for you forever." But she comes in and she's an absolute mess. She's panic-stricken, just like when she first woke up. Her gown is unzipped or partially zipped. Her hair is a mess. And she looks like she's been inebriated, taking drugs and probably more alcohol, as she waited all these hours for Chance to come back. It must have been at least 4 or 5 hours since Chance has been gone. And for Princess, that felt forever. So her hyperbole, it almost sounds like a child. I think of my child saying, "Oh my God, this assignment's taking forever." But when she's in that needy state, that's what it feels like to her. That's what time feels like to her. But she says something wonderful has happened to her, and she wants Chance's attention, hence the questions with urgency. "Will you listen to me? Will you let me tell you?" And I find it really funny that Miss Lucy's like, "Shh," as she sits with the other people in the bar. She has her good moments, but she's still kind of a gossip. She wants to hear this. And what Princess saw that made her have this change of heart was when Chance came back in the Cadillac after unsuccessfully being able to talk to Heavenly or even Aunt Nani. That didn't work out. So he comes back and he's deflated. But instead of showing that with a depressed attitude and posture, he does the opposite. But Princess can see right through it. "Chance, when I saw you driving under the window with your head held high with that terrible stiff-necked pride of the defeated, which I know so well. I knew your comeback had been a failure like mine. Despite the fact she's drugged, she is still astute and observant enough to recognize that he failed. He was not able to win back Heavenly for this plan, and he was hiding it with pride. So the details of his head held high and the stiff neck. Why does she recognize that? Because she has had to put on that facade so many times whenever she has failed as an actress, including her comeback film when she fled from that premiere. And that moment of recognition, that moment of empathy, was like a miracle for her, because she says she felt her heart for him. So instead of thinking of herself and not wanting publicity and wanting to escape from reality, she's thinking of Chance and what this moment has meant for her. And by thinking of Chance, it makes her reevaluate how she acted in the morning when she forced him for sexual favors. And she says, I felt ashamed, and then I'll never do that up again. I'll never degrade you again. So she realizes she took his worth and took his power from that moment, and it was wrong of her to do that. And that moment when she had said, when monster meets monster, one monster must give way, and it will never be me. Now she changes it. And she says, I wasn't always this monster. Once I wasn't always this monster. She keeps repeating the word monster like 2 or 3 more times. Seeing that moment of empathizing with Chance has made her realize she wants to change. She wants to go back to a more innocent version of herself. Not in the fake sense of appearance. It's not like she wants to be young again. She's starting to understand she can't do that. But she wants to be a more innocent version of herself, and recognizes that Chance is very much at that precipice too. He could forever lose his innocence, whatever small amount of innocence remains, if he keeps going down this wrong path. So she genuinely wants to help him. Chance doesn't quite get how momentous this is for Princess. When she explains, you gave me oxygen, that was so kind of you, Chance says, no one would do that. That's not really that big a deal. I'm not that kind of monster, implying he is. He is still monstrous in some of his intentions, and Princess is the one that corrects him. You're no kind of monster. You're that lost boy. You're Jack in Jack and the Beanstalk. You're just still lost. You haven't made your way back down from the kingdom of the ogre, from the kingdom of the giant. You still haven't found your golden egg, but I can help you. So that monster metaphor that I had told you would be so important comes back here. She's trying to save him. And she no longer feels like the ogre. She feels like someone that could help him come back. But as she's saying this, we have a new character, Dan Hatcher, come in. We've heard of him. He called into the room in Act 1, Scene 1, and then in Act 2, Scene 1, Tom explained who Dan Hatcher was to Boss, to explain he's the assistant manager. He's the one that told me Chance was there. He's the one that tried to kick him out but couldn't because of Princess. So we've heard of him, but he's described with so much great detail. I wanted to take the last minute here to explain. So William says that Dan Hatcher, in appearance, dress, and manner, he is the apotheosis of the assistant hotel master. He looks the part. But apotheosis has a religious connotation, like when we think of someone godlike. He kind of looks like Chance. He's about 29. He's thin, blonde hair, trim blonde mustache, very suave. But there's an instinct for murder. So those like suspense thriller words really stand out because he's wearing a ruby glass cufflinks. That's what men would wear back then to tie their cuffs together, as you see in the arrows, and a tie clip as well is also ruby red, so red for murder, for blood. So this man looks like the image of a perfect professional man, but underneath that there's hints of violence. So it doesn't seem like Chance can save himself. There's no time for that, even though Princess is on his side wanting to save him, to get him out of the ogre country, the country of giants and killers. It's kind of too late. His fate has been sealed. He already didn't listen to Aunt Nani. He didn't listen to Miss Lucy. And now Princess is kind of his last chance to get out of there. And it does not seem like he's going to take it. The next part will be huge as he faces down Tom, as he finally sees Heavenly again, and Boss Finley. So I look forward to that. Thank you so much.